Hey, what's up guys, Jurijs here and welcome to today's video. In today's video we are talking about this aquarium, and this is going to be the very last update on this aquarium. The reason is because it's sold. Yes, it's sold. In the last update on this aquarium, I offered, if you guys are interested before I take it down, to reach out. And from those of you who have reached out, one person now has bought this aquarium, and probably in a couple of weeks it is going to be picked up. So I'm doing the last trimming on that aquarium. I would like to use the opportunity to show you the final evolution of the aquarium. Some plants have changed, a lot of plants have been replanted. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get into it. So the biggest change since the last update in this aquarium is definitely the foreground. If you can see now, it is super narrow, super compact, and it kind of looks different because it is different. It is a completely new foreground. The aquarium was very overgrown, and I made a decision to kind of renew it a little bit because, you know, when giving an aquarium to someone else, I want this person to have success with the aquarium, and how it was looking back then, it was not ideal. The Monte Carlo carpet was already like 5 centimeters tall. So what I did, I pulled out all the plants from the soil substrate. I spent a few days on this, but yeah, I think it paid off. I replanted the entire foreground with Hemianthus cuba and Eleocharis mini, and just a few portions I have Monte Carlo, like over there on the top in between the rocks, but the foreground is all Hemianthus cuba and Eleocharis mini. I have reused a lot of the Staurogyne trimmings and replanted those side areas with Staurogyne. I trimmed back the Panidiphyta, it was already growing too far to the top of the aquarium. I pulled out all the stem plants from the back of the aquarium and replanted the entire background, like literally the entire soil section. Another new addition to the plants is Pogostemon helferi, both on left and right side, as well as Alternatera reinecki mini right behind it. And also you will notice over here in the foreground and over here in the midground, there is the Cryptocorania albida brown. So I tried to play with this reddish colors. The larger one over here, this is the undulatus red as well. It grew from runners, so it was quite small at that time, so I haven't trimmed that back. And the one over here was like gigantic, and now it's coming back very small and compact. And this type of growth you can achieve from larger crypts as well, just by trimming them down. It's the same they do with the bonsai trees. By constant trimming, you can achieve this miniature growth. So the foreground has filled in super nicely. I really like this kind of wild look in the foreground, so I don't want to trim it. I like it. If I trim it down, it will be all even, and I just like this little mix with Eleocharis, the hairgrass here and there in between. Some plants that I'm going to trim back is the Staurogyne repens over here because partially melted away for like no reason. The Hygrophila Panidiphyta on the rocks needs to be trimmed back, needs to be thinned out because yeah, it's just too much. It's everywhere, and I want to see some of the rocks again. And in the background we have Rotala green, Rotala atra, and we have Rotala macrandra, Rotala Vietnam, I think, Rotala valiki. I just put in all kind of plants I had around, samples, test plants, just filled in the back of the aquarium. So the stems in the back are going to be trimmed into shape. It's the first trim since I planted the background. So it's going to be like this first shaping trim that's going to be going very low, just to give the plants the right shape. And they're super dense already right now. This is because I planted super dense, and you know, if you're watching my videos, you know I recommend, and I always do myself, to plant as heavy as possible from the beginning. And to achieve this already mature look in the background, I planted super heavy when I did it. And yeah, the fish, they have changed as well. And yeah, I removed all the other fish from the aquarium and I added the black phantom tetra. Unfortunately right now wearing the wrong shirt because there is the moss cotton black phantom design. But anyway, I love this fish. It's also the reason why there is a dedicated t-shirt to this fish. They are just beautiful. Other than the black phantom, we still have the black Dario fry. I removed the adults and the fry, they were just too small to remove from the tank. Also the tank was mature and there are so many, I don't know, like microorganisms for them to feed. So I just kept them here, and they're already like 1 centimeter in size, so they're now like good to be removed to other tanks and can be fed with what kind of, I don't know, like live food you can provide them. And then I have some red cherry shrimp in here, some amano shrimp, some Cleton corona. You guys know I love the Cleton corona. The horned nereid snail, it's simply the best algae eater in my opinion. So now, without any further rambling, let's get into the maintenance and into the meat of today's video. So guys, when trimming the Pinnatifida is actually super simple. If you take a closer look on the structure of the Hygrophila Pinnatifida, you always have like mother plant, and then you have like side shoots. And those side shoots is what I want, because they have this very small growth, and they look like tiny ferns, while as the mother plants tend to produce a stem and then growing literally vertical. And basically, the earlier you trim them down, the better, because then the power, the plant juice, you know, the resources are distributed not into the one stem to grow vertically, but to all the runners. And what I also do, I remove some of the larger leaves, just to maintain the small and compact growth. And by removing some of the larger leaves, you can also distribute the power, because, for example, if you don't want the plant to grow in a certain direction, just remove the leaf that would lead into that direction, and just leave one leaf that will show into the other direction. So this is where most likely a new side shoot will grow. So now that I have trimmed back the Pinnatifida, you can clearly see the rock is more visible, and the remaining Pinnatifida is super compact, and yeah, I also removed some of the larger leaves. Next, I'm going to trim off some of the larger leaves of the crypts, some of the remaining Undulatus red, so we get more of that compact growth of the Undulatus red here in the foreground. As well on the side, I'm gonna trim down all the larger leaves to remain this clean look on the side. As I've been trimming the crypts here on the right side of the aquarium, I noticed some of the runners of the Pinnatifida kind of making its way behind the rocks and into the stem plants. So that is definitely something you want to avoid, because you don't want the Pinnatifida to grow between your background stems. So just trim them back, those runners, and remove them. Same thing applies to ferns, you know, like trident fern, bolbites. You want them like in the foreground, midground, you know, of the rocks or hardscape of your material. You don't want the ferns actually to grow into the background, because they grow slow, but they will eventually outcompete the plants in the background and just mess around. So you don't want this. Okay guys, meanwhile, we have the midground sorted. So the crypts, the Pinnatifida, the Starugani, everything has been trimmed back and looks neat and clean. And now I have a lot of trimmings floating on the surface, so let's get them out and then move on onto the background planting. So I have removed the floatings from the surface. Next step, I'm going to separate some of the Phyllanthus fluitans in a small container. And the reason for that is, as soon as I start trimming the background plants, I mean all the stems, the surface is going to become a complete mess. And I don't want to start cleaning the Phyllanthus fluitans afterwards from all those trimmings. So separating it up front is going to make my work a little bit easier. So next, I'm trimming the stem plants in the background of the aquarium, and to do so I have applied a little guidance line. And if you want to know more about this, so click the link up here for the pro tip where I explain this technique in detail. And now let's basically chop down the plants and see how it looks like afterwards. So I finished trimming the stem plants, and next I'm going to clean the glass, scoop out the trimmings, and yeah, perform a water change. And this is a pro tip within that video, like a little bonus at the end of the video for all of you who stayed here till the very end. And the reason to do so is, first of all, you whirl up a lot of dirt when trimming plants and eventually replanting some of them, which I did. I don't know if I mentioned that. Anyway, I just replanted some of the Rotala species in the back, the green ones in between the red ones. And yeah, the reason to do a water change at the end, because you want to get rid of as much of dirt that has been whirled up during the trimming process as possible, and also because plants release stress hormones when they're trimmed. And by performing a water change after that process, you're getting rid of all these stress hormones. And then if you want, you can use some like additives. I have here Phytongit from ADA and Green Gain Plus. One is going to reduce those stress hormones in the water and just boost the immune system of the plants and strengthen it against weaknesses. And the other one is going to promote new growth. So that's it for that last maintenance. I hope to record like a cinematic final update of that aquarium to keep it in best memories, and I'm really curious if you would like to see something like that. Let me know please in the comments down below. Hit like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Peace.